presidential candidates and the Iowa caucuses. Two very, very wise men, Republican consultant John Thomas and Democratic strategist Dave Jacobson. I've given you a very big billing, so I'm expecting you to deliver. John, to start with you, the race on the GOP side, essentially down to Cruz and Trump. Help our viewers in the United States and around the world really get a sense of what victory for the respective campaigns would mean, because it means different things to each campaign.
It does, and it depends who you are. If you're Donald Trump, you need to win Iowa. He's probably going to win Iowa, and it's important because Trump's pretty much sole justification for why he's going to be president is because he's been #1 in the polls. And if in the first state he doesn't become #1, then it casts into question, can he actually win it? So he has to come out strong. But even tonight we saw a shift in his campaigning where he's starting to manage expectations, saying, well, it's not fatal if I don't win. I think the Trump campaign's feeling very good, but you just never know, and so they're managing expectations. The Cruz campaign has had a string of bad news over the last few weeks, and quite frankly, they've been out-campaigned by Donald Trump time in and time out. And the problem was, Cruz said a couple weeks ago that he was going to come in first place. And now that he doesn't, that is a devastating blow to Ted Cruz.
He's not blown the expectations.
He has. He's completely messed it up, and he's not going to win New Hampshire.
On the flip side, real quick, if Donald Trump does prevail tomorrow night and does triumph, I think it's going to create sort of a domino effect for all these other states, and he could theoretically lock up the nomination. If he does a huge victory tomorrow, that propels him with some more momentum to New Hampshire. He could lock up Nevada, South Carolina, and ultimately the nomination right around Super Tuesday.
I've got to ask you, Dave, what you make of this from the Democratic side of things as you watch the GOP race and you look at Iowa,
right,
with evangelical voters and Trump leading the pack.
Right.
I mean, how do you wrap your head around this? How do you make sense of it? What does it say about America today?
Right. I think people are frustrated. They're angry. They're looking for someone who's going to represent sort of the anti-establishment, the anti-status quo. You're seeing that on the left with Bernie Sanders and on the right with Donald Trump. The question is that going to translate into votes at caucus night tomorrow?
Yeah.
I think, people have been saying, how is Donald Trump winning with evangelicals over Ted Cruz? Ted Cruz's father is a pastor. Well, I think the fact is, evangelicals, they don't vote strictly on religion. Of course, you've got to check that box, and Donald Trump did that a week or so ago by giving a speech and butchered it a little bit, but he did it enough.
Yes.
But the fact is, evangelicals are as angry as everybody else, and Donald Trump has been able to kind of capture that anger.
Well, I think also, real quick, I think people are looking for someone to sort of speak truth to power.
Strength.
Right?
Strength,
right?
authenticity. Coming up.
Right.
This issue of strength keeps coming up, and as you say, it's not just the religious issues, it's the issue of strength and projecting that truth to power. Dave, I want to ask you about the Democrats now, and this enthusiasm gap between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, and what that means for Monday night.
Right. I think it's genuinely like a battle royale between the two campaigns. I think it's really going to come down to turnout and ground operations. A higher turnout with unlikely voters, folks who haven't caucused in the past, young people, college students, that's going to bode well for Bernie Sanders. On the other hand, you've got a big storm on the way, and people who normally don't caucus, who don't have the experience of actually going and sitting there and participating in the process for several hours, they may not turn out, and that could bode well for Hillary Clinton. The hardcore caucus goers, people who are older, who have participated in this process before, those are the folks who are going to turn out no matter what for Hillary.
I think it's funny to me is on the Republican side to look at the Democratic side and say, the fact is, Hillary Clinton should be winning. She should be walking away with this thing, but she's potentially going to be indicted. There may be another candidate, like a Michael Bloomberg, that's getting in. I think Bernie Sanders' rise is not just because of the messaging. I think it's because they don't like Hillary. But the sad thing is, for the Democrats, is they still may get Hillary, and that doesn't bode well for them in November.
What do you make of that, David?
Well,
it's about them not liking Hillary.
Well, I think it's the honesty factor. I think it's the authenticity factor. This is why you're having the Clinton campaign say, hey, we want more debates, we want more town halls, because she's introducing herself in a different sort of light than what people see on the campaign trail at the stump, which is sort of staged and polished. You have a more interactive, authentic Hillary at these town halls and these debates, and I think that's why her campaign's salivating for more.
It's problematic for Hillary because still the majority of Americans, both Democrats and Republicans, say they don't trust Hillary Clinton.
The
That's
trust
a problem.
issue, the authenticity issue, it keeps coming up time and time again for Hillary Clinton. Have to ask you, gentlemen, as a parting shot, what will you be looking out for as those results start to come in from Iowa late Monday night?
I think for me, Donald Trump, obviously, is he going to take it? It looks like he is going to, but that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in Marco Rubio. Because Marco Rubio, if he comes in third, and if he sneaks out a second or comes in a tight third, all of a sudden, Marco's the story. You know, everybody knew Donald Trump was top of the pack, but Marco's peaking or surging right at the right time. So I'm going to be interested to see if Marco's supporters realize that they can make the difference tomorrow. Marco could then go from, he has that 3-2-1 strategy. That could be well executed. He could become the anti-Trump and could start on tomorrow night.
Which is this point that a second place for Cruz could be worse than a third place for Rubio.
Exactly.
Dave, what will you be looking for?
On the Democratic side, I think it's a function of what turnout's going to be. If you're going to see somewhere around 200,000, sort of the Obama surge caucus goer number that we saw in 2008, I think that's going to translate into a possible victory for Bernie Sanders. The other question is whether or not these college students who are sort of closely located in dense populations where you got big universities. The question is, do they sort of go out to the rural communities where their parents are in caucus? If they do and they turn out, that could translate into a victory for Bernie. If they don't, if they stay home, I think Hillary wins.
Yeah, if Hillary wins Iowa, it's a big blow to Bernie Sanders.
You know, gentlemen, it's going to be a very, very interesting night.
Will be.
CNN will have all the drama, all the action. So keep it here with us. Gentlemen, thank you as always. Very, very wise, and you lived up to the bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, time for a quick break. Straight ahead,